Good afternoon, and welcome you all to the third session of National Seminar on Interdisciplinary Research Approaches. Writing, a skill that is often taken for granted but is used more than what we notice, plays a vital role in communication. Writing has existed for centuries, and the art never gets old. And with the introduction of academic writing, it has become a key part of academics all over the world. What we don't realize is how important writing skills are for completing an academic qualification. It's the magic that turns your knowledge into evidence. Now we have a session on topic academic writing, which will be handled by Dr. P. Bhaskaran Nair, former professor from Pondicherry Central University, and the same will be chaired by Dr. Andrew Thomas, associate professor and head from the Department of English. So I invite the chairman for the day for this session, Dr. Andrew Thomas. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. Dear beloved Professor Dr. Bhaskaran Nair, St. Thomas College proudly welcomes you to this afternoon session of the Research Scholars Meet, where you are going to enlighten us all on the topic academic writing. I would like to welcome all the research scholars, the faculty, the principal, and every other member who has joined online to this program on academic writing, how we can excel in it. Academic writing is a formal writing, which is clear, concise, focused, structured, as well as supported by evidence. And an expert in English language teaching would be the ideal person to guide us on every detail of academic writing. It's because of this that we have with us veteran, eminent, emeritus professor, Dr. Bhaskaran Nair, with us. Let me take the pleasure to introduce Dr. Bhaskaran Nair to all the audience. Dr. Bhaskaran Nair has his PG diploma, MLit, and PhD in English language teaching from Central Institute of English and Foreign Languages, which is now English and Foreign Language University, EFLU. Besides his primary degrees in English language teaching, he has his MPhil in linguistics as well as an MPhil in education. Dr. Bhaskaran Nair is very familiar to English faculty from the Thrissur area. He has always been a hero to the professors of English department. He began his career as a teacher in Sri Keralavarma College, Thrissur, in 1980. But being an ambitious academician, he switched over to the government college system, and he worked in many government colleges. And then he was a professor at Kannur University. Finally, he opted to be a professor at Pondicherry Central University. And his formal career in the government service entered with his retirement at Pondicherry Central University. But he has been an active professor even after his retirement in 2014. He has been a professor at Hindustan deemed to be a university in Chennai, And besides being an academician, he has established his own forte in English language teaching after having been one of the founders of English language teachers interaction forum, LTIF. And he is the editor of the quarterly journal of LTIF. He has ardently proved his intellectual abilities with the publication of over 50 research journal articles published, 200 professional writings in journals, 30 chapter books, and he has also been the editor of a bilingual dictionary. Dr. In universities all over our country. Being a veteran professor, he has also his social roles to perform in the society. One of his prestigious messianic mission as an English professor has been to working for rural development through ELT, English language teaching. He has also organized a support program for women. He has organized a number of programs for Pondicherry units as well as for tribal women. Currently, Dr. Bhaskaran Nair has not been dormant during the pandemic. He has conducted 4 online series for researchers, teachers, and students. Of this period of the pandemic situation, he has organized 40 programs online. We have with us a very eminent scholar who can offer us guidelines, especially to our researchers, how they can excel in their academic writings. On behalf of all the listeners to this online program on academic writing, I extend a warm welcome to Dr. Bhaskaran Nair and request Professor Bhaskaran Nair to make his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for this elaborate introduction. At the outset, let me thank the Department of English, St. Thomas College, its HOD, faculty Dr. Viju, who personally is known to me. Way back in the 1970s, towards the end of the 1970s, after post-graduation from the University of Calicut, like other youngsters, I too was looking for a job. At that time, I was working in schools, but after the PG in English, naturally, I too was looking for a job in a college. PSC notification was yet to come. Naturally, our choices will be on aided colleges. And within aided colleges, whether we are good at, say, English language and literature or teaching, that's a different thing. All of us will be looking on priority wise the best colleges available nearby. And naturally, one among the best colleges happened to be St. Thomas College. But newspapers didn't bring any notification from St. Thomas College. without notification, it was not possible those days. These days we can apply, we can directly apply, whether somebody has a vacancy or not. You can just send in your CV, whether they want me or not. If they want, let them take. But those days, we have all those, old-fashioned formalities. Newspaper, notification has to go. Nothing came from, or if at all came, didn't come to my notice. Then came a notification from an equally reputed college, Sri Galarma College. Applied, got it. Worked there for 3 years. My first college teaching experience. In between, a few times visited St. Thomas College with great reverence, because for me, the one from North Malabar, St. Thomas College means Pondicherry, Prosa Pondicherry, nothing else. Later, after working, during my stay at Kalorma College, another synonym was added to St. Thomas College, Kolangadan, Dr. Kolangadan. St. Thomas College now means, for me, Pondicherry and Kolangadan, both equally respectable people. Fine. Now, after decades, I happened to be in the central hall of St. Thomas College, maybe one of the seminar halls. That was in the early 1990s, when the UG curriculum underwent a very serious change, as suggested by the Higher Education Council, headed by Professor Panikkar those days. And the English curriculum was one among the most affected, and teachers were rather angry with the suggestions, because teachers of English were asked to, or supposed to, teach philosophy, critical thinking, and so many other things, even Indian constitutional rules. So teachers were, most of them were all up in arms, and Calicut University, unfortunately for me, chose me to send to St. Thomas College and to meet a crowd of 100 young teachers, leaving me there on the platform before the angry mob. The office bearers, that is the academic council members and the board of studies members, they simply vanished. Within 10 minutes or so, very furious questions, queries started coming to me, as if I were responsible for the whole thing. My role was just to produce 1 or 2 textbooks based on the syllabus approved by University of Calicut. But the crowd thought that I am part of all these changes. Anyway, after 3 or 4 hours, I managed to pacify the crowd and say, saved my life, to be frank. I won't blame the teachers, because the changes were so unexpected and drastic. Now I think most of those changes have been brought into the syllabus. Now we are happy with it. So this is my association with St. Thomas College. Now this is the next entry. My dear researchers, among the researchers, I am sure that there would be a few faculty members too who may be doing part-time research as well. My dear colleagues, respected head of the department, and my friend Dr. Viju. The broad area I am given is academic writing, and along with that, I think there was another tag attached to it, that was research ethics as well. Dr. Viju inquired me whether I would be interested in research ethics as well. I said, better not to, because once we enter research ethics, I'll be the enemy of quite a few supervisors as well. I don't want to collect more enemies in 75 minutes. I do have enough. I have managed to collect enough enemies so far with my own efforts. So with say Dr. Viju's effort, I think I don't need any more enemies. So I said no to research ethics. Let me confine to research writing. Academic writing. Right. Now my research starts. The moment I am assigned an area, academic writing, my research starts. Academic writing is a vast area. I am given 75 minutes. Out of 75 minutes, 15 minutes will be spent on formalities like introduction and say Thanksgiving, etc. So I am given 60 minutes. In 60 minutes, what am I supposed to do? I'm a researcher for the last 40, 50 years. So the researcher in me told me, in 60 minutes, you cannot do justice to academic writing. Okay, then what should I do? Then someone within me told me, narrow down. That is research. Yes. I started narrowing down. From academic writing, I straight away narrowed down to writing research papers. I saved part of my time, energy, everything. Okay. Writing research paper itself is a smaller sea, though not an ocean. And my researchers, my audience, already had a few sessions, I think, from the brochure I come to know. So the researcher in me again advised me, still narrow down. You are a researcher, aren't you? Yes. I again narrowed down. From writing research papers, I jumped into a small part, abstracts, writing abstracts. And I may be a fool to think that writing abstract is a very small area. No. Writing abstract also is a very vast area, a difficult area too. Within writing abstracts, again I narrowed down. Please remember, my dear youngsters, I have started my research. Research means going narrower and narrower and narrower and narrower, and finally you end up at the tip of a pin. I'm going to it. Within writing abstracts, I chose only just one aspect of it. That is how an abstract should be, could be different from an introduction. During the past 12 years, I have been publishing in a humble journal, Journal of English Language Teachers Interaction Forum, LTIF. And during the last 20 years or so, or more than that, 30 years around, I too have been presenting papers on various platforms. These two together give me enough exposure to abstracts, good and bad. Not only abstracts, good and bad, so quite a few of them were not abstracts at all. So I would say the last 3-4 decades gave me a few abstracts and quite a few non-abstracts. Within the few abstracts, they were good and bad. But before coming to that, what about the hundreds of non-abstracts? Most of those non-abstracts were introductory paragraphs of papers. So, how to avoid the confusion between an abstract and an introduction? why and how researchers tend to rechristen an introductory paragraph as abstract and send it to the seminar organizers or to the publishers of journals and say books, edited volumes. What could be the reason? Why most of the abstracts turn out to be introductory paragraphs? Reason is there in red. Number one, inability to move from periphery to the center. During this 1 hour, my dear young researchers, please don't think that I am blaming anyone. Not at all. Blame is partly on us and me too, those who guide research. There also I'm not blaming. The Indian mindset in general and in the academic area has a tendency. That tendency is to be general. India has a policy not to make other nations, including neighboring nations, our enemies. We had Panchashila, signed by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. When some issue comes, recently we had an issue at Ukraine, it is going to melt down, and say diplomats were very, very anxiously awaiting how India is going to respond. Whether India would be, say, standing with Russia, who was going to attack Ukraine, or whether India is going to stand with the US, which is opposing US's atrocity on Ukraine. So, India always wants to be neutral. To be neutral is a very dangerous thing as well. Between true and false, how can one be neutral? Between truth and lie, how can one be neutral? Between atrocity and suffering, how can one be neutral? But the Indian mindset has taught us to be neutral. Therefore, when it comes to academic field, we always depend on broad, general statements. When I was teaching a little bit of literature in the UG classes, every time when I go to a class, John Keats was the most important among the romantic poets. Did they have any clear idea about the other, say, romantic poets, beginning with the pre-romantic William Blake and, say, ending with the post-romantic, say, W.B. Yeats or somebody like that? No idea. I don't have any idea about their poems or their anything like that. But straight away I used to bar like this, William Keats was the latest romantic poet. Why? General statements are less harmful. And when I say, taught say, metaphysical poetry, and then I would say John Donne was the most famous among the metaphysical poets. Did they have enough say volume of knowledge on Herbert and say Worm and Crashaw and Andrew Marvell and others to judge whether John Donne was the greatest? Nothing. Nothing. Again, general statements. So, it is partly the Indian mindset which prevents us from being sharp and sharper. We are happy with general statements. That is one reason why in the place of an abstract, we get an introductory paragraph or paragraphs of a paper. The second reason, why more? The second one, lack of self-confidence. Again, I'm not at all blaming you. This is also part of our culture. We always have been asking, am I right? Instead of, am not I right? we never or hardly we ask, am not I right? 20 years of schooling, my dear young researchers, has ruined your self-esteem. Before you walked into LKG or UKG or class 1, imagine you had this amount of self-esteem about yourself. Huh, I'm not bad. I am good at, say, a little this thing. I am good at all this. I am not that good at this thing, but I am above average. If it was with this self-esteem, you and I walked into a school class, be it LKG or UKG or say class 1. Now, after 20 years, most of that self-esteem has vanished. At that time, we were asking, am not I right? What is wrong with me? Where do you find any fault with me? But now, we don't ask that question. Timidly, with a shy, we all are asking, including me, we all are asking, am I right? This is another reason why our supposed to be thick, concentrated, abstract gets diluted into 1 or 2 or 3 introductory paragraphs. We have been filtered at schools and colleges. So when some thick, concentrated liquid is filtered and filtered and filtered, what remains is a thin flow of water which doesn't share the original essence of it. The quintessence of the quintessence is lost. Schooling has taken away our essence. I taught in schools, I taught in colleges, all varieties of universities too, from my personal experience. The next, so self-confidence. When self-confidence is lost, we can't be sharp. Yeah. Next slide, please. Saju. Yeah. The next question. Now we are coming to ourselves. From culture and our Indian mindset, now I am coming to the individual. Lack of focus in inquiry. You lost your key and there is no supply at home somehow. It is dark. And with a torch, you are going around under the bed, in the table drawer, on the kitchen shelf. But all this time, what have you been looking for? That you forgot. Instead of asking ourselves the crucial questions such as, what is it? Your research topic. Why is it so? Why is the most important question among all the questions? Followed by what? We keep on asking questions, rhetoric questions. Rhetoric questions. A rhetoric question never demands an answer. We know the answer. Oh, these days trains. Why are all the trains late these days? It's a rhetoric question. Why are all the trains late these days? This rhetoric question is not expected to be answered by neither railways nor the passengers. We simply ask a question. And we too, researchers, we too have been asking, what am I looking for? Look at the funny situation. It is dark. With a torch in your hand, you are just feeling on the top of the kitchen shelf, and you are bending down the bed, and you are fumbling in the table drawer, and the question you are asking is, what am I looking for? Even the very concept of the key, the bunch of key, is lost. No inquiry takes place in this context. If you don't have the object of inquiry in your mind, what is the result of inquiry? Half an hour search. That's all. And you say go back to bed thinking that tomorrow morning in broad daylight you may be able to trace the key to the drawer or something like that. The translation of the word research is Gaveshana in Malayalam, Gaveshana, which had its origin in Sanskrit. Originally, that word means go, cow, the cow. Ishan. നമ്മുടെ അന്വേഷണം, looking for the missing cow. That is the tentative Indian paraphrase for the Western term research. Looking for the missing cow. Look, you have a herd of cows, 30 or 40 or even more. And you have a very clear idea about that missing one. The black one, which has a white spot on its forehead and which has a white ribbon-like mark at the end of its tail and a small, say, hole-like patch on its left ear and a very little, very difficult to perceive it, a very little limping of the left hind leg. It is this cow out of the 40 is missing, and I am the cowherd. I am looking for it. This is what Indian research was once. Out of the 40 cows, if you are unable to identify which cow is missing, how are we going to do Gaveshanam? If you don't have the identity of the go, this is the situation now. Next slide, please, Saju. Yeah. So I finished that area by tracing the reasons. Major reason, cultural, reflected or injected through our schooling system. Our education system, by schooling system, I don't simply blame schools, the whole, what I taught in the PG, everything, up to the education system, the formal education system. It doesn't ask us to be precise. It doesn't ask us to ask questions. It simply asks us to answer the so-called ready-made questions. With that one, I move to individual drawbacks, inherent. We don't know which cow out of the 40 or 50 is missing. Then only, say, the search has any qualitative result. Now, the second part is how to address this problem. In humanities, in general, if it is political science or say economics, history, I think I can read and understand what you, my young researchers, are reading these days for your PhD. Though I don't have any idea about your content knowledge, but if you give me what you are reading these days, I think I too can manage to comprehend the content to some extent, not full. In that case, what would I do? The first thing I would do, and I have been doing, and even this morning I was doing, is be always ready with a point. Let it be a minor point. let it be a minor point. After Dr. Viju invited me, say last week, within the last 1 week, I had some 3 or 4 minor points in my area, English language teaching, and related to education in general. I don't simply focus on ELT. I relate it always with education, especially school education. So, in between Dr. Viju's invitation and this presentation, about 1 week, I got 3 or 4 minor points with which I think I would be able to write papers for fairly respectful journals, care listed. But where did I get these points, my dear young researchers? While sitting in this library of mine. Mine is a fairly good library, uh, home library. I'm a little proud of it. No, these 6 or 7 days, hardly few hours, 2 or 3 hours, I was confined to this room. All time I have been traveling and teaching. These 3 or 4 minor points, which could become small papers, which I hope journals would accept, came to me while traveling, while say teaching, etc. Not exactly I was sitting with my laptop to write paper. No. The seed of these papers during the last 1 week came to me when I was traveling, when I was teaching, when I was at the canteen or somewhere like that. Huh. I yes, I can begin with that one. Then I can develop it into a 4-page paper. This was how my tea session at the canteen ended one day. Back with my laptop, I created a folder, wrote a tentative title on top of it, just tentative title on top of it, saved it. And I dragged it into the folder called to be papers. Already 4 or 5 are waiting there to be papers last month. I didn't get time. The 7th one also is added to my folder. Out of curiosity, I just opened the other files. In one, there was one paragraph. In another, there was a 2 or 3 pages. In another one, the naked title was simply comfortably sitting there. Nothing happened after. No clothing was done. Simply, purely naked title, nothing else. So this naked title also was added to it. What I mean to say, my dear friends, is that a research topic for a research paper, not for a PhD, a paper should come even in a non-academic setup, while traveling, while cooking in kitchen, while teaching. It can come. You need not sit in the library or in the study or in front of your computer to get a point. The point in humanities, I don't know about, say, science and technology, I have no idea. But one thing I can assure you, be it political science, be it history, be it economics, sociology, psychology, about philosophy, I have no idea. Psychology, I have some idea. A research topic for a research paper, a 5-page, 10-page paper, should come from real life. At the bus stop, on the railway platform, at a canteen, in a crowded classroom, in the kitchen. Then you are a researcher. I would certify everything from my old age. Because St. Thomas College has named this group as humanities group. I'm sure I'm not talking to science group, I hope. Why humanities group? The meaning is there. Whether you are a scholar of history or say psychology or say philosophy or English literature or English language teaching or linguistics, the center is human being. And your inquiry as a researcher, be it PhD or MPhil or a research paper, your inquiry is going to be centered around a human being. And where do you get human beings? Human beings are available in plenty at the canteen, on the railway station, railway platform, at the bus stand, on the road, and in the field and on the farm. Not in the library, not on the laptop. So I assure you from my experience that a topic for a research paper must emerge from the society in which we are living, of which we are a part. Next slide, please, Saju. Yeah. Now, from the canteen or from the platform, as this old man advised, you got a small point, something very small point. These days, post-COVID, all the passengers trains have been, say, what, converted into Brahminical classes. The Shudra trains were converted into Brahmins. But don't think that they added any more comfort. Only the ticket charge went. And no more passenger train. All passenger trains have been renamed as express trains. They stop at almost all the passenger train stops. But from 20 rupees, the charge went up to 45 rupees. That's all. A student of economics, I myself, sat and thought, why does this happen? 24 months ago, I was able to travel from this station to that station by paying 20 rupees. The same train, which is dirtier now, during the COVID, there were no, say, washing or anything like that. The same train with the dirtier pleasures and luxuries, now they are charging 45. As a student of economics, I have a research question to write a paper. It can be either tracing the source of this, or it can be how railway cleverly or cunningly cheats the crows of the Daridra Narayanas of India, or even after cheating us like this for one more year, will the railways be compensating its loss during the COVID period? Now I am on the other side. With one of these layman's queries, you, a researcher of economics, with a background up to PG in economics, plus maybe an MPhil, plus a few more readings, this layman's question of this railway charge increase can be made a research question by adding a WH question. Why or how? Even if they do it, will the railway be, say, compensating its loss and all those things? With this thing, now we are before our laptop. Ready. My first piece of advice to the youngsters is a rather shocking one, which nobody so far would have thought. Okay, yesterday you got a mail or a message, or you saw in the newspaper, or you got something by post. Call for papers. Call for papers. Such and such institution, a reputed one, St. Thomas College, is going to organize a 3-day international conference, not virtual, say the real face-to-face. Papers in the following areas and related areas are invited. Okay. St. Thomas College gives you only 15 days. In 15 days, a research must be born and brought up. Not very easy. Not very easy, even if it is humanities. 15 days which St. Thomas College gave us for submitting papers is enough to bring up a research paper. But conception is not possible in 15 days, my dear young ones. 15 ദിവസം കൊണ്ട് റിസർച്ച് ഗർഭധാരണവും പ്രസവവും വളർത്തിയെടുക്കലും ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് ഇമ്പോസിബിൾ. What is possible in 15 days, the allowed 15 days, is rearing up. Conception and delivery must be over before St. Thomas notification comes. That means all of us, young and old, researchers, those who completed their PhD and say very comfortable as associate professor or professor, and those who are somehow struggling to submit the PhD dissertation, or those who just enrolled, all you and I must always be ready with one minor point, as I suggested earlier. And with that minor point, don't write your abstract first. I am quite sure that no research guide told any student like this. But I told my research students, MPhil as well as PhD, and even say MA project walas, I told them, never write your abstract in the beginning. After putting the final full stop to bibliography, the last Z, Zakia V, 1968, Exploring second language classrooms, ELT Journal 27.7, page 11 to 27, bracket close, full stop. Now, I am entitled to write the abstract of my PhD dissertation. I am dead sure that not a single person in this small crowd will agree with me. And I am the happiest, because the more I get people who disagree with me, the happier I grow. That's why you can see the happiness on my face right now. I have been collecting scores and scores of disagreements almost every day. And I am growing happier and happier, because more and more disagreements provoke me to read more and to research more. Therefore, my dear young ones, this time I am going to provoke you all by saying that never begin a paper with an abstract. Immediately your response is there, sir, we are left with only two weeks for the entire seminar, and the deadline for submitting abstract is coming fast. Okay. The Indian setup allows you to write an abstract and send it to the conference organizers, but you tell yourselves that what I sent was not my original abstract. My original abstract will be coming towards the end of the paper. So I saved you from that trouble. So whatever you think of the topic, you write the 250 abstract and send to them. Now we start writing the paper. Where to begin? Now it is very easy for you to begin. Why? I told you not to begin with your abstract. Then what can you do? your present abstract can conveniently be converted into introduction. No harm. Whatever you wrote in the abstract which you sent to the conference organizers, you make it as the introductory paragraphs 1 or 2 or 3. So you have started. Now you don't have an abstract, my dear researchers. Now your abstract space is blank. Forget about the one which you sent. No. Now, title, your name, mail ID, then a blank space for 250 words. Then, number 1, introduction. This introduction you copy from the abstract you sent. Fine. Now, within single inverted commas, I repeatedly use the word minor point, which you got on the railway platform or in the canteen or in the teaching class. Right? Now, before moving to that minor point, you please check the abstract you sent last week. Once again. Then your finger may go to your forehead. No. That means in a hurry what you sent didn't even satisfy you. At that time it did, but now it doesn't. What to do? There are options. Reorganize those facts and figures which you already sent in a different fashion in the introductory paragraph. Now you have a fairly good, readable, reader-inviting introduction. Please remember, nobody reads your abstract except the conference organizers. The readers, if anybody is interested, reads your introduction. And this introduction, now after reorganizing, is really reader inviting, because you began with something related to life. That itself makes your introductory paragraph lively. So the piece of advice I give you is that in humanities, let your introductory paragraph or paragraphs be about day-to-day life. It can be the Russian invasion on Ukraine, or it can be the central government's policy on GST, or why Kerala government is opposing to certain, say, GST rules, something like that. It is related to life. Next slide, please, Saju. Yeah. Never begin a paper with the abstract. Next slide, please, Saju. Yeah. Now, the third point, stop writing coherently. I know that I am contradicting the piece of advices given by many of your guides. Guides may ask you to write logically. I am asking you not to write logically. Whatever points come to your mind below the introduction, which is more or less logically organized. It is different from the one abstract you sent. Now, after writing that logically coherent introduction of 2 or 3 paragraphs, stop writing logically, start writing at random. Whatever points that comes to you to form the argument. Don't write, please, for heaven's sake, don't write full sentences. As a language teacher, I would tell you, this effort of your writing full sentences in English has destroyed your thinking process. Instead, just write one word, a two-word phrase, or a three-word phrase, or a five-word phrase, or at the most an incomplete sentence. No complete sentences. A phrase, A, B, an incomplete sentence, C, a one-word point, D, point, uh, just a year, 1957, point E, name of an author and title of the argument he put forward. This way, whatever you have gathered from the library, from the reading, without any logical connections, write down either 1, 2, 3, 4 or A, B, C, D, whichever way. But remember, all these will be somehow related to the minor point. I always repeat, the minor point which you have already planned as the nucleus of the paper. A point about the topic should not occur in two places. This is essential. You have a minor point and you have another minor point related to it. That another minor point related to the nuclear point should not occur in two places. If something occurred in the introduction, it shouldn't occur in the 6-page paper. This insistence will keep you away from the evil of repetition. A point about the topic should not occur in two places. It must be either in the introduction or in the body of the paper. We haven't come to the abstract yet. Whether it can come to abstract or not, we'll discuss in the end. At the moment, that one point which you think is related to your topic can occur either in the introduction, 2 or 3 paragraphs, or 1 paragraph, or somewhere in the body of the paper. Next slide, please. "40, 20 plus 30. Yeah, I may be getting another half an hour. My dear researchers, I'll be extremely happy if you could ask some questions towards the end. Whether you are not in the habit of, say, asking questions or not, it doesn't matter. Even if I don't know anything about your discipline, still, I would like to have questions, because one of your questions may give a minor point to me for writing my next paper. I'm still writing papers, not for promotion, not for getting any job either, but to get comfortable sleep. If I don't write a paper, at least one paper in 2 months, I won't get sleep. Then my wife would tell me, get up, go and write some paper and then come back. So at least one paper in 2 months. For whom? For anybody. Not for promotion, not for anything. How to write a good abstract? Number 3, start collecting support material on your minor point. Are the railways going to make profit out of it? Or are the railways going to compensate a loss? Whatever may be the minor point. By this time, your minor point has got the clothing of theoretical framework. As a layman, I was asking, why do railways do these things? But as a student of economics or commerce, you have moved far ahead, because you have a lot of theories about profit and loss and compensation and, say, liberal economy and, say, capital economy, all those things. With those things, you have already clothed this minor point in theoretical apparel, dress. Start collecting support materials on your minor point. Still, it is minor point. Here is the slot for the theoretical framework of your paper. Now we are two. I am a layman. I still remain wondering, why do railways do like this? You now have moved far away, being a researcher in economics. You have got support from world-renowned linguists, economists, to your own guide, who also has published enough papers in our own Indian economics or like that. So from those vast areas, you have got theoretical frameworks which suit your inquiry. A broad framework currently popular in the field. That is one option. You can take one broad, the American economy, which governs the whole world, a very broad area, or the two Modi government, say, economics, anything like that, a broad framework, supporting and definitely opposing theories as well. While writing a paper within a framework, within a theoretical framework, my dear researchers, please be careful that you should be partly, at least partly aware of the opposing view as well. This is very important. It should not be unilateral. Even if it is God himself has provided the theoretical framework for you, please remember, if God has provided a theoretical framework for your research, Satan has provided something in antithesis. If you have 10% knowledge of God's theoretical framework which is supporting your research paper, you must have 30% knowledge about Satan's framework which opposes God's framework. Otherwise, your research will be partly blind. You are following somebody blindly. Blindly following is not go ishanam. Only with wide open eyes you can trace your black cow, which has a white spot on its forehead and a white ribbon like say circle at the end of the tail, and a little lame on the left hind leg, and a small cut on the left ear. If you are blindly following the UPA government, if you are blindly following somebody's theory, and if you blindly follow somebody's theory, your cow is missing forever. It will finally end up with someone else, maybe in slaughterhouse as well. Therefore, collect opposing views as well, but need not be in full, at least partly. I said 25%. 25% of opposing view as well. That means the reader must be aware. The examiner of your PhD dissertation must be aware that this candidate is aware of theory A and simultaneously the opposing theory B as well. Credit goes to this paper. And here you can also think of the rationale. Why am I writing this paper? Why am I putting forward this argument? Now, a minor point which had its origin on the railway platform, with the reading and say with the PG support and your reading and say one or two paper presentation, has got the clothes of theoretical framework in economics or whichever maybe, and now you have simply underlined why am I writing this paper, the rationale. Next slide, please. Yeah. Again, the minor point is there within inverted commas. Present your minor point as a hypothesis. an imaginary statement, a hypothesis, something like this. I'm just giving you one or two samples of writing it. Let the hypothesis be a single sentence with the two clauses, with some 20, 25, 30 words at the most. The briefer the hypothesis, the clearer your views. The briefer, the shorter your dissertation, the clearer your views. In humanities, of course, we may be adding a lot of appendices. Forget about those things. But if your theory chapter, the core chapter, is very, very brief, as an examiner, I would conclude your views are sharp. In my discipline, linguistics, to the best of my knowledge, the shortest, the shortest dissertation has less than 90 pages in a leading American university. That was in the 1980s, based on Chomskyan theory at that time. And Chomskyan theory was very, very popular all over the world. And the title of the dissertation, I think, I don't remember exactly, is really funny. The title of the 90-page dissertation, which became world famous on Chomskyan linguistics, was "John is easy to please, John is eager to please." John is easy to please, John is eager to please. The title of a dissertation. Suppose you write a title to a dissertation and submit to an Indian university, what will happen? Symmetry, nothing else. So, here you can present your minor point as a hypothesis, and the hypothesis may let it be as brief as possible. If x and y are like this, then z going to thank you, thank you. Present your minor point as hypothesis. Second option, based on the data available. You don't go by the theory. In quantitative research, you can go like this. Based on the data available, it could be like, as I am going to argue in this paper. Or though there are many routes to reach there, that particular destination, the one I suggested in this paper is yet another alternative. 24 routes are there for me to reach the railway station from my home. And people have been, I too have been using quite a few of them. But now I suggest that 25th one, nothing, superior about my 25th route. But I am suggesting, if you are quite free, and if your train is still a little far away, it may take another 1 hour, and you have nothing else to do in the town, then, my dear friend, you do one thing. You take the first turn from the municipal bus stop, and from there you take the right turn, and there on your right you may see a temple, and then you get into the field. It's a wonderful field. On your right you may have a lotus pond, etc. And you cross like this, and finally take the right turn. That path may take you to the service road. That service road takes you to railway station. There you will be by 5:30, and your train is by 5:45. Instead of sitting and in the crowded city, I guided this young researcher to enjoy the beauty of the nature, the lotus pond and the paddy field and everything. And the 1.5 hours she spent or he spent was not a waste. To have a lotus pond and a stretch of paddy field and breeze and say walking through the Kerala village is not at all a waste. So the argument which I put forward in this research paper is the 25th route from my home to the railway station. The only advantage to this say new suggestion is that it has, though it is a little longish, it has the added advantage of sightseeing. Saju, please. Yeah. By this time, what happened to your minor point? So far, I have been repeating minor point, minor point. By this time, what happened to the minor point which we or you had at the canteen or at the bus stop or in the railway station? You will be surprised to notice that by this stage, your minor point has become either a major point or at least a fairly bigger minor point. ഇമ്മിണി വലിയൊന്ന്. Our great philosopher, saint philosopher, Sufi, told us that ഒന്നും ഒന്നും ഇമ്മിണി വലിയൊന്ന്. So you began with a minor point. Now you will be surprised to see if it is not 2, at least it has become an ഇമ്മിണി വലിയൊന്ന്, a fairly bigger minor point, which is worth researching. The research community, the reading community will shake their hands. Good. When I began, I thought why this gentleman or why this young lady is wasting time on this so common thing. By the conclusion and with the help of the data she has produced, or say with the help of the arguments, the theoretical arguments, he has done a nice job, a wonderful job. The dissertation evaluator is happy now. The reader of your article in the journal is also good. This is a fairly good way of approaching research. This brings your paper to a conclusion. Now you can conclude. From the hypothesis, you can. And then what is left is just one thing. If there is any other thing, we will come to it later. To me, now what is left is append your paper with references. Now there is a 2000 words paper. Let there be some 10 or 20 valid references, citations. If it is a dissertation, maybe 100 or more items in the bibliography to finished. Your research paper is over. Then you must ask, sir, our 1 hour session was on say abstract. What happened to the abstract? You told us to throw away the abstract or send it to the seminar organizers, and then you told us to reshape that abstract and say convert it into a 3-page introduction. Now you are sending us to send this to the paper to the publisher or to a conference as full paper. What about abstract? Saju, please, next. Let me trace their abstracts. My dear young ones, now it is time to write the abstract. Did you put a full stop to the last entry in your references? Z, Saika, 1968, interaction in the classroom, page 11 to 17, full stop. Zaika, last entry in the reference. Then, my dear researchers, come back to that blank space which we have left below the title. Now, where is the abstract? The abstract is there where you have clothed the naked minor point with a theoretical framework from your discipline. From there, you start writing your abstract. That means the abstract of a PhD dissertation or a 6-page research paper should begin with a technical statement, not a general statement at all. In my discipline, ELT, if an abstract begins with academic writing is the most difficult, or the most neglected aspect in English language teaching. Sorry, extremely sorry. This is BA second year essay. I began a BA second year essay with the sentence, academic writing is the most neglected one in the ELT curriculum. Or I can send it to first BA also, but never third BA. No. Third BA project on ELT should not begin with the statements. Third BA project should begin with a technical statement. MA project also, MPhil project also, research writing also, PhD dissertation, of course. That's why I told you, at the juncture where you close your minor point with the theoretical framework, pick out one sentence from that area and follow. Not by repeating the same sentence, but by condensing the arguments of 3 or 4 or 5 sentences in one sentence, and that entire theory section in the paper, the theory chapter in the dissertation should be condensed. In the 6-page paper, the theory part is 2 pages. Those 2 pages should be condensed into 200 words. In the PhD dissertation, the theory part on feminism or say constructivism or say postmodernism, the theory chapter may run 40 to 60 pages or like that. That should be condensed into 200 to 50 words. I would say not a single sentence should be there belonging to layman's statement like academic writing is a very difficult task. No. It should be technically loaded. How much technically loaded? There is no hard and fast rules. My point is that you have a 2-page theoretical discussion in a 6-page article. I simply asked you to condense that 2 pages into 200 words. Logically readable. Yes. Now you are entitled or qualified to write the abstract. Only then. If, as usual, you have already sent in an abstract, definitely we have to. Time pressure. Let this new abstract replace the old one along with your full paper. So, now you have 2 abstracts. The first abstract went into the abstract compilation of the conference organizers. Let it be there. In your real paper, while presenting at the podium, or while sending for publishing has an entirely different abstract, and the second abstract is the real abstract. Saju, please, anything more there? My slides. Saju, please. As usual. Yeah. Saju, please. Slide, please. Now it is time to write the abstract. Slide, please. Saju. Thank you. Thank you. It's over.
Yeah, sir.
Over.
Yeah, Bhaskaran, sir.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
One more. Yeah. One more slide
yeah.
maybe there.
That was a thanking slide, I think. That was the last slide, and
Okay.
there was
Okay.
some
Okay.
technical
Okay.
issues, sir. That's why
All right.
it
Okay.
got
Okay.
stuck.
Oh, no problem.
Okay.
No problem. I think
Okay.
it's almost over.
Yeah.
Almost over. Yeah. And before winding up, a personal request to all my researchers, and especially for those in the field of English language and literature. I have a small organization, and which it has been publishing a quarterly journal, which I hope in a year may be getting entry into UGC care. Content-wise, we are really we have really convinced ourselves it is worth entering. But formality-wise, there are some external formalities such as the editorial board and advisory board and all those things, which we are going to reconstitute, and hopefully within a year, we too would be finding a place in the prestigious UGC care. Uh, Articles are welcome to this journal on three areas: literature, language and language teaching, and cultural studies. Most welcome. And membership to this organization is just 1,000 rupees for 3 years. And membership means subscription to the journal for 3 years. Membership and subscription together, the same thing. So most welcome to have interactions. We have been, say, working for the rural development through English language education. Till COVID, we have been helping women, children, teachers, and parents. Even researchers of other disciplines are most welcome to join on our programs. You too have a lot to contribute to us. We are quite sure that a researcher from commerce, economics, psychology, any discipline can join us. You can come and stay with us, and interact and mingle with the smart school children and their parents and their mothers and their teachers as well. Most welcome to the organization called LTIF. Yeah, Ms. Sindhu,
Yeah.
please.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
thank
Thank
you.
you for really explaining to us in a very well way how to write an abstract. As we all know, like writing the abstract is the main part of a research. Like when if the abstract what we have written is not in a clear format, the readers won't be in a good mood to complete reading the article. So if before reading the article, the abstract is very clear, it gives the reader a mind to go forward of reading it. So within 1.5 hours, sir, you have really in a very detailed form, you have explained to us how to write an abstract and what should be there, what are the do's and don'ts of writing an abstract. And so that was really helpful for us, and I think this session is really will really contribute for as an asset for the research scholars, as well as for all those who are intending to write a good research paper, especially in the field of social science. So thank you, sir, for spending your valuable time. And now I would like to call Ms. Shyama Shashidharan, research scholar from the Department of English, to propose the vote of thanks.
Good evening. On the behalf of St. Thomas College and its research community, I'm glad to express my vote of thanks. I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed resource person, Dr. P. Bhaskaran Nair. His deliberations shed light on academic writing that researchers use to define the intellectual boundaries of their discipline and area of expertise. Thank you, sir, for the wonderful session. Next, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to Dr. Anto Thomas C., Head of the Department of English and Chair of this session. Thank you, sir, for the wonderful introduction and rumination on academic writing. Now, thank you to all the participants for making time to be with us today. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
Shyama. So, thank you once again, sir, for rendering
Miss,
such
Miss
a
Sindhu,
nice talk for us.
Yeah. How many participants were there? Total around?
Just
No
have
idea.
to check, sir.
Just no, just out of curiosity. That's all.
Okay, sir. Once again, I'll check and let you know. I think it's right now it's around 40 to 50 participants, I guess. Sir.
Yeah, quite a few might have left by the end. Okay.
Yeah, yes.
Thank.
Okay.
Ms. Sindhu, do you belong to faculty or say you're a researcher?
Yeah. Actually, I'm a research scholar as well as I'm a faculty from the Department of Commerce.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay.
See you.
Thank you, sir.